Video games have been around for decades. They've only taken off in the last couple of generations as an accepted mainstream entertainment medium. As most things that become popular, there are those that immerse themselves too far in their quest for rewarding feelings that often fuel the fires of unhealthy addiction and even murder. Here are some video game related deaths. The Case of Barris. A feud between two Call of Duty players led to the death of a 28-year-old Kansas man who was shot and killed by police after a fraudulent 911 call sent a SWAT team to the man's private home. Casey Viner, known as Vaporizer, and Shane Gaskill, known as Miracle, fought over friendly fire in an online tournament hosted by UMG Gaming, causing them both to lose the match and a staggering whole $1.50 in wagers. Instead of letting the argument die down and go their separate ways, the two gamers got on Twitter and threw insults at each other over the loss. This led to Viner threatening to SWAT Gaskill, who then responded with a fake address to where he had been previously living. Not backing down, Viner contacted his friend Tyler Barris, a wanted man with a long criminal record who carried out the SWAT as a prank. Unfortunately, this was no prank, as Wichita local Andrew Finch, whose family members say didn't even play video games at all and was a father of two young boys, answered his door only to face down a heavily armed SWAT team. Allegedly, one officer immediately fired upon Finch, who later died at a hospital. It's unclear why Finch, who is said not to have had a weapon on him, was fired upon and killed. An innocent man was shot in the heart at his own doorstep. It was later reported he had nothing to do with the game or either of the three men involved. A federal judge sentenced Tyler Barris to 20 years in prison in 2019, aimed at drawing attention to the deadly practice of swatting. The Case of Brian Vignault. Fame, fans, sponsorships, money and clout are why Twitch became so popular in a short amount of time. But the pressure to be the best and to stand above the rest can be too much for some. If not careful, many find themselves ignoring their body's warning signs and keep pushing beyond what is safe, including taking drugs and boosts to keep going. Well-known and popular gamer Posh Hybrid died during a World of Tanks marathon that was raising money for charity. The live Twitch stream was being watched by thousands of players. Towards the end of the event, fans started to notice Brian nodding off and downing energy drinks to stay awake as he became more and more tired from the heavy gaming session. It got to the point that he looked on the verge of passing out. He walked out of the room around the 22-hour mark, telling his viewers he's gonna go smoke a cigarette, but he never came back. It was later discovered that he was not just downing energy drinks to make it through the night, but he also took a very powerful opioid called fentanyl, which is known for being up to 25 times more potent than heroin. He had died of cardiac arrest, to the disbelief of his many fans. The Case of Tai. In 2015, it was announced that a young male Chinese gamer, aged 24, had collapsed and died after playing a massive gaming session of World of Warcraft for a mind-blowing 19 consecutive hours without a single break. The enthusiastic gaming addict had reportedly turned a very pale color before coughing very violently in a sudden and short amount of time. He was seen slumping lifelessly in his chair on CCTV inside the Shanghai Internet Cafe. An autopsy was used to determine that excess playing and a complete lack of proper rest had contributed to his death, most likely in the form of a pulmonary embolism from a host of multiple factors that revolved around his extreme gaming habits. The Case of Chris Staniforth. Chris, an avid player of popular games on the Xbox, collapsed after an interview at a job center while telling a friend he'd been experiencing strange pains in his chest. He explained how he was woke up in the middle of the night by a strange feeling in his chest, and his heart rate was incredibly low. Although this returned to normal, and he fell back asleep. During the conversation outside the job center, his dad explained, the moment Chris started to suffer. He dropped a packet of chewing gum, and as he picked it up, he jolted back and began to spasm. Chris's friend frantically called an ambulance. The paramedics arriving on the scene ultimately failed to save him. The coroner confirmed that deep vein thrombosis was the cause of death, despite the 20-year-old having no history of ill health or any underlying medical conditions. DVT is a blood clot that develops in one of the deep veins in the body, usually occurring in the leg or lower torso. It causes pain and swelling, which can lead to serious complications if the blood clot breaks off into the bloodstream. If this happens, it can cause a fatal blockage to the lungs known as a pulmonary embolism. Chris lived for his Xbox. When he got into a game, he could play it for hours and hours on end. Sometimes even in 12-hour stretches, his father said. The unfortunate yet serious gamer had hopes and dreams to have had a career in computers, and was even offered a place to study game design before this sad turn of events. Thanks for sitting around and humoring an old fox and his tales. If you'd like more, please hit like and subscribe. And remember, nothing is more frightening than a fear you cannot name.